Here's my story on how I went from being someone completely and utterly consumed by all the triggers of PTSD, hopelessness, isolation, despair, triggered by everyone and everything around me, flashbacks, night terrors, insomnia, trying to manage all of this with drugs and alcohol and having a chronic illness on top of all of it, to being someone who absolutely smashed my career in the mortgage banking business, ranking in the top 1% across the country for the last 10 years, resurrecting and rekindling an incredible relationship with my wife, who we've been together for the last 23 years, and repairing my relationship with my daughter. My hope for this video to reach the people that are still in the depths of despair of PTSD. They're still isolated. They feel like there's no hope. They've done everything and tried everything, and they're still suffering and feel like there's no way out. Those are my people. If you're not one of those people, but you know someone that is, and you can share my video with them, I would so greatly appreciate it. Here's why I am so passionate about sharing my story with you today. Trauma started the day that I was born. I was born with a cleft lip and palate. It means your lip does not form all the way across, and you have no roof to your mouth. I needed immediate medical intervention the moment that I was born. And that didn't change really for the next 18 years. I had my first surgery when I was 3 months old and my last one when I was 18. I had 23 surgical procedures in all, grouped into 9 major surgeries. I was born into a family with very little resources. We had no running water and no electricity. My father was an active alcoholic and my mother was only 19 years old. I also had a brother who was 19 months older than I was. Chaos, volatility pretty much named the game that I grew up in. What I learned from a very young age is that we don't have time to process our thoughts and feelings. We shove things down. So that's what I did. And I learned that and believed that was the right thing to do from a very young age. Sometime in elementary school that I was definitely outside of the societal norms. I was a lesbian, for God's sakes. Oh my God. And in the 80s, no one talked about being a lesbian at all. Not at my house and not anywhere out in the world. Okay, what am I gonna do now? I'm hoping if I just ignore it, it's gonna go away. And that's what I did. I shoved it all down and tried to disregard who I innately was. Well, that brought on a lot of beliefs about who I was and what I thought about myself. I wasn't good enough. Look at the way I look at the way I've spoke, right? Or who I'm attracted to. Oh my God. I just hoped if I didn't deal with it, that it would just go away, quite frankly. It didn't. As high school approached, the surgeries were ramping up, and then I saw a light at the end of the tunnel going into my senior year, and I thought, there's finally hope, right? Things are going to change. Things are going to shift. Things are going to be different for me. I'm going to college. I have a new opportunity, and I was so excited. My after-school job one day, I was on my way to work, and I got in a horrific car accident, and 3 people lost their lives that day. Now, I wasn't found responsible for that accident in any legal way whatsoever, but I believed that I was responsible. And I took those beliefs to tell me how I should live my life from that moment forward. And I believed that I didn't deserve to be alive in any way, shape, or form, nor did I want to be, because now all my life experiences that I had not dealt with, all the trauma, the self-hatred, the feelings of being insignificant and not mattering, all were right there along with this trauma from this car accident. It was honestly too much to bear. Every day that I woke up, I was hoping that tomorrow would be the day that I didn't. The only way I knew how to deal with this intense emotional pain was drugs and alcohol. I plunged headfirst into drinking and drugs. I did that for the next 10 years, every day, until March 25th of 2003. I woke up that day and I knew I was done. It was abundantly clear to me that I was doing the exact same thing to my daughter that had been done to me. I was not willing to pass that trauma on to anyone else. I thought, yay, I've arrived, and you're probably thinking the same thing. But unfortunately, As time passed and I was doing all the things, going to meetings, working on my trauma, I realized I was still doing the same behavior. I was still pushing people away. I was still isolating myself. I was still living from a sense of scarcity and fear and panic most days. I never wanted to return to the kid who grew up with no running water and no electricity. I was living in a constant state of fight or flight. Well, finally on February 6th of 2021, my body said, no more. You're done, Marcy. And I ended up with mast cell activation syndrome and histamine intolerance, and I was bedridden for the next 40 days. I stared death in the eye 3 separate days throughout that 40-day adventure, and it was, without a doubt, the most profound moments that I've ever had in my life. And I finally got it, that all of that trauma that I had stuffed down and all of the beliefs that I had been operating under, it became very clear to me that I had never gotten to the root of what the real problem was, which was to figure out what the beliefs were that I had adopted, that were running my thoughts, that were becoming feelings, that were turning into my behaviors, which had created my life. I dedicated the last 3.5 years of my life to unwind all of this. Here's how I did it. The first thing that I did is I became deeply committed to meditation. I was meditating hours every single day using open focus meditation, which allows the nervous system to relax enough so that the body can start healing itself. And it also allows the body to start releasing trauma. The second thing that I did was I inventoried my thoughts. Yikes, I know. I took a deep dive into my thoughts. What was the things that I was thinking subconsciously day in and day out that were driving what my body was doing? I changed my thoughts. And the third thing that I did changed everything about who I had been before. All of the fear, panic, and scarcity that I had lived in before, I surrendered that, and I moved into and committed to living my life in a space of love and gratitude. It is literally the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, to follow these 3 steps and to literally overcome all of the beliefs, all of the thoughts, and all of the feelings that used to run who I was and who I thought I was. If you needed to hear this video today, please comment. Thank you so much for listening.